Hey guys, this is Kenzie coming at you just before the pod starts. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a trigger warning. In this episode, we are going to be talking about mental health in relation to eating disorders and self harm. If that has any triggering effect on you, I beg you, please, please, please skip this episode. And I will be back next week with some more fun content. But I just want to make sure that everybody is happy, healthy, loved, and loving themselves. So if that doesn't affect you, I hope you enjoy it. If not, then we'll see you next week. Okay, hi guys, and welcome back to the What Am I Even Doing podcast. We are back in my car. So, welcome back to what we know best. And I'm here joined with one of my best friends. This is Kat. Introduce yourself to the people, my friend.
Hello, I'm Kat. I'm here.
Yeah, we've been friends for, I don't know, too many years to count.
A while.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just had a guest, and it was my friend of like 21 years or some shit. We're not quite there.
No.
For sure. But we've been friends for a long time. But mainly I decided to have you on because May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
I love
And
that.
yeah.
Fuck yes.
And I think that this is a great time to talk about what we have in common. What do we have in common? We have an eating disorder.
Eating problems.
Disordered eating and eating disorders and all of the things that follow with that. So
I almost said eating worms, but
eating worms.
that I figured was
you can tell that joke if you'd like.
I'm good.
We were in the parking lot of Target some years back. What was that? 2021 or something?
That was pre-COVID.
No, it wasn't.
I think
because I knew that one person that worked at Target.
Oh, was that later? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out time, honestly.
It's man-made. It doesn't even exist.
Right.
So I'm told,
yeah. I am my own Eras tour, right?
Yeah. What was it? Was like it had to be like 2021 or 2022.
Probably. Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. I have a note that says things people say. And the first thing on here is something that Kat said. And it is in regards to this topic. So I thought maybe we'd kick it off with that. That's a great idea. We can just go to Sportsman's and eat worms. That's pretty eating disorder diet friendly, right? Low in carbs.
Probably. I don't know how prevalent Sportsman's warehouses are. So for those of you who don't know, that is a hunting and fishing like mega store.
Literal mega store.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dick's Sporting Goods is more well known.
For sure.
So it's kind of like similar to that.
We've always had Sportsman's, and then we did have a Dick's, and then I don't think we do anymore. I think it's gone.
No, we do.
Where is it?
Same. It's over by that local Acres that used to be Food for Less.
I thought that was a Ross.
That's there too, though.
Okay, that's fine.
I think they're both there.
Probably.
I don't know.
I don't know
where anything
I try not
is.
to go to town.
Yeah.
Go up to the big city.
You know,
too much.
We out here in the country today.
Yeah.
I can't even speak. I just said today.
Yeah.
We out here in the country today.
We're in a rural area.
Yeah.
I mean,
rural. It's pretty out here, though.
It is pretty.
Anyways, so I usually start off with talking about what we're drinking, our beverage for the day, but I've already drank all of my water. So we're sharing this water here.
We have more water. Primo. Literally, that's like the brand of the machine that we get our water from.
So we're sharing this water that
Cheers.
Kat has brought. I actually would like some.
Mm-hmm.
So how was your week? Let's start there because we want to talk. Let's recap the week here.
Oh God. It was fine. It was kind of weird with the whole like holiday, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Hours. Like, I mean, I worked the same hours, but
was it busy?
It was like busy, and then not, and it was just not like normal. You know, because you kind of get a handle on like what Friday's like at the job you have, and what Saturday's like after you've been there for a while.
Like a little bit off.
Yeah, so that was kind of weird.
Dude,
but
I went to the gym yesterday, and there was like 3 people in there,
Oh, I love that.
which is unheard of for Planet Fitness.
I wouldn't
Like
know.
like this video if you understand what I'm talking about. But no, usually there's a quadrillion people in there at any given time, and there was only like, yeah, like 3 people. And I think it's because of the holiday. It's like the only thing that makes sense to me.
I think that's why I just kind of committed to probably never going to a gym.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many people, and I know it's like, well, but it's like the culture, like everyone's there to like get better and do this, and
Yeah.
I love that for everyone
I talked
who
to
does that.
I talked to a girl at the gym yesterday. It was my first time ever talking to somebody at the gym. Nothing like that. I did tell her she was a bad bitch.
Well, because she's like anybody who's at the
Well,
gym.
she was doing this shit that even the dudes don't do, and I was like, ooh,
Ooh,
damn, girl.
ooh,
That
get it.
was that was real good. You do real good things.
Shit, yeah.
And she was like, yeah, you too. I hate those fucking things that you do. Because I was like doing these things called dead bugs. And she hates them, I guess.
I also hate dead bugs. It's very sad.
I don't I don't like to kill bugs actually.
Me either.
So this week was kind of weird with the holiday. I kind of agree with you. I've been sick. My voice is probably still like not great. But I've been sick and then now I'm better. But I didn't start feeling better until like Thursday. I woke up and I was like miraculously good to go. So that was cool. Um, but yeah, so this week's been that, really, I guess. Oh, I finally got my room finished at my mom's house, so that's kind of cool.
Fuck yeah.
My podcast setup is going to be so sick. You guys will see
I'm stoked.
eventually. So, anyway, it looks like we're going to just jump into this. I want to know, like, the timeline of your eating disorder. Like, when do you feel like you first started experiencing like disordered eating? Looking back at it, because I don't think that I put 2 and 2 together when I first started.
Right. I don't think many people, I mean, I'm sure there's, you know, people who like go into it intentionally, but I think that's, you know, the loudest people always make everyone else look bad.
Yeah.
I also want to be very clear. I have never been diagnosed. I just know that I have very disordered eating patterns.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna, I don't want to negate anybody's experiences or anything like that. I'm just here.
For the record, I have been diagnosed.
Yeah.
I've been diagnosed 3 different times.
Yes.
And then, so when I say, that's why we're kind of using eating disorder and disordered eating kind of interchangeably, simply for that reason.
I just want to like, clarify
throw that out there
for anybody.
Don't want to.
I think probably pretty early. I don't even really know because I was never good at like eating breakfast, you know. And then that kind of just is normalized anyway because you know a lot
It's super normalized.
And
to fast and stuff,
and we can get to that.
Fasting.
Yeah,
That's a trigger point, dude.
Yeah, I don't like it. But yeah, I don't really know because I think it's just there's so many people who, because I kind of, you know, I get, if I would eat too early in the morning, I feel really sick. And like sometimes I would like get sick, you know, not intentionally, but I just like it was too early for me to eat and it was like not cool. And then, you know, I feel like I usually ate lunch like at school and stuff, you know, like whatever gets packed, or we had hot lunch like once a month at my school.
That's fun.
It was interesting.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
I had hot lunch every freaking day, dude.
Yeah, my schooling experience is that's a different.
That's like
story.
A whole different story.
That's a whole different story. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think probably around when I started like getting thick, I guess, you know, your kids grow and you go through like string bean phases and plumper phases and all those things, and other kids suck.
Yeah.
And you know, not everyone's home life is awesome, and that didn't help. And I think a lot of that comes from, you know, like in only like the best ways. Like, you know, our mothers and our grandmothers and everything are only products of what they were,
Right.
you know, pushed into, and so that's kind of what we turn into.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like my mom thought she was allergic to weed for until she was like 40. And I mean, like, she was as a
Yeah.
little kid, but
Okay.
then she wasn't later. But because of that, like, she just like avoided wheat. And then with being a woman and diet culture and things, I think it just kind of automatically went down the path of like, well, it's bad anyway, so
Right.
it's fine, or like it's better that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, even now, I've actually talked to my mom about this, about like, you know, there's like things aren't bad, you know?
No, there's no bad food.
Exactly. I mean, unless you're like eating radium, bro.
Then that's
But like
probably
that's not
bad.
food.
That's not
So,
meant to be
you
consumed.
know, this is not my strange addiction,
No.
you know.
No.
I mean, it's kind of it's
It's
different.
it is
Okay.
its own strange addiction,
Yeah,
right?
but I'm
Yeah.
not like eating emery boards.
No.
You remember that
God.
shit?
Yeah.
Oh god.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so like relatively early on, like elementary school then probably.
Yeah, for sure. I think I started getting kind of like thicker in like 3rd grade.
Mhm.
However old you are in 3rd grade.
I think you're like,
Like 7 or something.
yeah, something like that. 9,
Because I kind of went from always being
8.
like a string bean of a kid, and I was like tall in my class,
Oh,
actually, in like early elementary school for a
dude.
hot minute.
Same.
Uh,
What? Those
Right?
were the days.
Yeah, I was like tall and like a string beanie, and I was always very athletic. Not like in a, that I played sports, but I just always ran around. You know,
Yeah.
I grew up out in the country. I was just always doing stuff.
Yeah, you were fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, running around.
And then, you know, when you start kind of realizing things as a kid and you start like having like feelings, you know, about like what's going on in your
When
house or
things
at
start making
school.
sense,
Yeah.
that's when the damage starts.
Yeah. And I definitely had, I don't want to like make it like worse in my own brain. So I'm not gonna be like, I had issues with, but like I definitely, oh, there was a lot of time eating ice cream for breakfast,
Mhm.
you know? Um,
Like some issues with binge
and
eating and stuff.
I think there's nothing wrong with ice cream for breakfast in moderation. Everything in moderation.
Everything has to be in
Yes,
moderation,
everything.
exactly. Which is the hardest part about this whole fucking thing, like about recovery, and we'll get to that um closer to the end. But yeah, I would say I think the earliest time that so I started gymnastics when I was 3, I think. And the earliest memories, and I couldn't tell you how old I was. That's why I'm like, I don't know how long into gymnastics it was before I started noticing that the other girls' bodies looked different than mine did. Or
Mm.
because I've always been short and like, I don't know, I've always had chubby cheeks. I've always looked like a little Cabbage Patch Kid. You know what I mean? Like,
You're so cute
that's
in your little kid pictures. You're so cute.
but that's what I looked like, was a Cabbage Patch Kid for most of my life, I feel like.
But like not creepy.
Well, yeah,
Them
no.
shits are creepy.
I love them. Shut up. The Cabbage Patch world, though, have you looked into that ever?
Excuse me?
It's like it's kind of like Build-A-Bear, but Cabbage Patch Land, and you I don't even know if it's around anymore. But yeah, you like go there and then you get your Cabbage Patch Kid, but it's like birthed from the Cabbage Patch.
So it's like American Girl doll meets Build-A-Bear?
Build-A-Bear, yeah.
I'm kind of living for this. I feel like maybe that would have made my childhood a little bit more
If you could have gotten a
poppin'.
Cabbage Patch, yeah.
Like popped out of a cabbage in front of me. Shit,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would immediately say that's how babies are made. Like that's what I would
Yeah.
have thought as a child for
Yeah.
sure. Nobody would have had to answer that question. To this day, I'd be almost 30 years old and saying, "Yeah, we came from Cabbage
I came out of my mom's belly button. I don't know what you're talking about.
Patch." You know what Krista told me? Speaking of kids saying funny things,
Kids say the darndest things.
and they do. Addison was at the park, I guess, and this kid was like, "Are you a Christian?" He was like asking like all these people if they were Christian, and
Wow, bold.
Addison said, "No, I'm an alien."
That's my boy.
Oh
Oh,
my
I
god.
love them so
It was
much.
so funny.
Oh, what a
It was
sweet
like a
little baby
perfect moment.
angel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. God, my eyeball is itching so bad. If I have really red eyes, that's why.
Do you need an allergy pill?
Yeah.
They're at my house.
We're not going there right now. Oh, anyway, back on track here. I have
Mm-hmm.
an issue with that. Um, so I think that some of my earliest memories between like the ages of like, oh, probably like 4 and like 8, between like 4 and 8, I think are the times when I started comparing myself to other girls, other people in general. And we grew
Yeah.
up in a society where like, what is that aesthetic? Is it
Oh, what
the
it's.
heroin chic or whatever?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we grew up in
yeah.
that.
Heroin chic, and like, yeah, the like meth,
Basically
like
meth.
romanticization. It was just
Yeah.
really weird, and uh,
And so to grow up in that
yeah.
and see like all these people that you idolize, like that are teeny tiny little, they have issues of their own, probably, right?
Oh, yeah,
Most of them,
absolutely.
Lindsay Lohan, for one,
Oh my
came out and said that she
god.
did have issues. The Olsen twins,
Oh my
like,
god.
yeah,
Yes,
all of
all of
them.
them.
It was,
My heart just like flutters for them and all the awful things. Paris
wow.
Hilton.
Paris
Oh
Hilton
my
was a big
god.
one.
Yeah, if you haven't deep dive into the troubled teen industry, you'll learn a lot of things
Oh
that
my
you probably
god.
didn't know that you should know.
Paris Hilton is an angel.
She's a fucking angel sent from above.
Absolutely.
That's hot.
Are you Christian? That's so funny. Sorry. Um,
No, I'm an
so
alien.
I'm an alien. So yeah, I'd say that those are probably my earliest memories, and then timeline wise, I don't think it really got to the point where I was necessarily restricting until I was in middle school.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
started to notice things. I think I was more of a binge eater.
Mhm.
Growing up a gymnast or like an athlete in general, if you're an active kid, you need carbs.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
That's kind of that whole like carbo load, you
yeah.
know?
Well, and before gymnastics meets, they would like carb load us. We'd have pastas and breads and all sorts of shit.
As you fucking should though,
And
you know?
right. And then I stopped doing gymnastics and then I just continued to do that.
Right. Which is, and I think that that's a really, I'm glad that you kind of bring all that up too, because I think that, like, no, I don't think that kids shouldn't be allowed to do gymnastics or things like that if they want, but I think that there needs to be like more safety guard systems in
Yeah,
place,
or
like
at least a
nutrition
conversation needs
talks,
to have. Yeah.
yeah, check-ins, things like that, because it's, yeah, what do you do, especially for kids that like, I mean, I don't know how you stopped gymnastics.
I just quit one day. I
That's
decided.
totally fair, like whether kids just decide they don't want to do it anymore, or kids get kicked out because the parents can't afford it, which is
Mhm.
fucking stupid,
Mhm.
or they get kicked out because some other mom in the group doesn't like them or something.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, exactly, what do? They're not like, their body's used to this food level and the
Intense workout.
activity,
Yeah.
and then it's just like nothing, and then you're probably going to end up having frustration from parents of like, oh my god, why the fuck are they trying to eat so much, like
Mhm.
they're eating all our food, and it's like, well, they
That's what their brain knows. That's like what their
yeah,
body knows.
you know
And that's basically like what happened. I mean, I switched from gymnastics to dance, and don't get me wrong, dancing is a it's an incredible workout, but it's definitely not like as intense as gymnastics for sure, like on the body. Oh my god, I'm sorry, my eyeball will not stop itching.
and there's definitely different levels to all of that,
Right.
you
I
know
think that everybody's had their own
yeah.
experience for sure, but um
Well, I just mean of like, some dancing is like
really
super
intense.
not intense at all, but it's still like very talentful and like skillful and beautiful,
Right.
but there's a lot that's very, strenuous. But gymnastics, I feel like it's never really chill.
No, it's always go 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 for sure.
Yeah.
Like my mom used to tell me that I was the strongest kid that she ever knew because I had like these back muscles like a grown man.
I love that.
It was crazy.
But then, we
But
grow
that's
up being like, oh no, that's having like a strong back or something. Like you're like a
that's
manly, you're
manly.
bad, or you're big.
Well, and then like starting middle school, you had girls that were dieting now. And
Oh,
I grew up in a diet culture.
that started for me in elementary school,
That started for you in
actually.
elementary school.
Yeah.
Okay, talk about
Um,
that.
so, well, and I didn't really think, also for bringing up thanks on the, like, just in general comparing
Uh-huh.
before that, because then I was like, yeah, I remember, in the summer putting on like my bathing suit as like a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old kid,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was like, I don't look like the other girls do or
Mm-mm.
whatever, because especially where we live, there's a lot of like swimming oriented things for
Yeah, it's
kids
very
in the
like
summer when it gets
outdoor.
really hot.
Right.
And I think that's really great. But when there's so much toxicity going around, it's kind of inevitable that
Mm,
kids are going to look at other kids and wonder, why don't I look like that, or vice versa, or
totally.
whatever. And there's better ways to go about it, and there's worse
Yeah.
ways. And but so I'm not going to say names or anything, or even like what the school was, but I specifically remember one girl who I went to school with. She was in my class, and she had some older sisters, and they were, very perfect.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And uh looking back, they were very like not perfect,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
And I don't remember really seeing them like eat ever. And if they did, it was very like restricted, and the parents were very on them being, athletic and skinny and pretty. And
They had to be perfect on the outside.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember, there's always like a weird kid, and not like in a bad way, like I was a weird kid,
Mm-hmm.
but that like doesn't like chocolate. And like
Me.
I knew that kid, and like you were that kid, and
Mm-hmm.
you weren't the kid I knew. We didn't go to elementary together.
No, we did not.
But, this girl was one of those people that it was like I never really got the feeling like she actually didn't like chocolate. It was more
Yeah.
so of like, I know chocolate's bad.
So I
Like,
can't have that.
mommy says chocolate's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's sugar. Sugar's bad. Sugar makes you fat. Fat is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Chocolate's bad.
Oh, yeah. It's that growing up in that diet culture, man.
Oh, it was so fun.
It's
So much
terrible.
fun.
Well, and it's not even that, it's our parents don't put this pressure on us, right?
Mm-mm.
It's just something that you see them put on themselves.
Yeah.
And when I saw my mom put the kind of pressure that she put on herself and her yo-yo dieting,
Ugh.
and she would be on a different
Mhm.
like
South
fad diet,
Beach.
yeah, a different fad diet at, like every couple of months, um and then all of a sudden we were going to McDonald's, you know what I mean? So it's like to watch it yo-yo like that really,
Yeah.
so like growing up in that was difficult, and I think that sparked a lot of what that, and honestly like eating disorders are rooted in a control thing, and like
Oh, absolutely.
I had no control.
And
My relationship with my dad was really out of control. It was a
oh,
little bit crazy.
yeah,
So
yeah. Our father relationships are very different but very similar at the same time.
right,
Like
yeah.
totally different people, but very same kind of like tumultuous.
Hmm. Do
Yeah.
you think that anything from your disordered eating could stem from that relationship with him?
Oh, I think the majority of my disordered
Does it?
eating stems from my relationship with
See,
him.
and I think that mine's like, it's like 25-75. Like 75% is more relationship with my dad and my stepmom and like all of that. And then like 25% of it is the diet culture I grew up
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a chunk of it for me for sure.
in. Hmm.
Um, but I definitely had, not it was kind of like you see like like the shitty moms on like dance moms and stuff.
Yeah,
Like that's how like my father was,
right.
and it wasn't like to that point obviously because I wasn't like in dance or anything.
Hmm.
Um, but
Still
it was
enough
still
to,
enough, and it was just really weird and intense.
yeah. Your relationship with your father is actually not something that I know a ton about. I just know that he's a terrible person.
Mm.
I never met him because you had stopped talking to
Good.
him before we became friends, or at least
Yeah.
not as much.
Yeah, like we had met, we met in high school.
Yeah,
So,
but
but we weren't like close at
no,
all.
when we had the opportunity to be close, we were both in really unhealthy, unstable relationships, which I'm sure was not doing great for our mental health and eating disorders as well. I was like scared into what I perceived as recovery during mine, and it was not that.
Yeah,
The second
no.
it was over, I was like back where I started, and it was like that
Hmm.
fucking what, 4 years was 4.5 years was never a thing. It was like
Yeah,
I never did recovery, and it was never in it, and that's just what all of a sudden my brain just like everything changed back to what it was. It's so weird.
right. It's like, well, you eat with me, so you don't have a problem,
Oh, mine
or you
was
know, et cetera, et
it
cetera.
was so there was that, and then mine was also um if you relapse or if you
Mm-hmm.
do this or that or have these behaviors, then I'm leaving you.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you're gaslit into thinking that this is the only love I'm ever going to receive in my entire life. So now I have to be good. That's what it is. I have to be
exactly.
good.
Yes, and that all stems back from being little kids, and we have to be good.
Exactly. We have to be good.
Yep.
So timeline wise, where are we at? We're in like middle school, high school right now. What was your relationship with food when you were in like seventh, eighth grade?
I didn't eat breakfast. I would lunch was weird because I either didn't eat or I would eat like one thing,
Hmm.
and then I had my school had like a weird like snack bar thing where you could like
Oh yeah,
go buy
same.
like extra snacks if you wanted. And so that was kind of a weird situation in time uh where I was like getting like used for snacks
Yeah,
by like friends,
yeah, that
quote
happened to me
unquote.
too.
And then so like I would, you know, eat snacks with them, and then I had like even some of those friends like say things to me about how much I was eating.
Oh my god.
And it was like, homeboy, like, or girl, whoever, like I just bought us this food.
And now you're gonna talk shit right at
Like
my face?
like I know you have lunch. This was not like a, oh, they don't have lunch situation. Like I get it. Like I've gone without for a lot of years of my life because I couldn't afford,
Right.
you know, or whatever. This wasn't a kid with no lunch at school situation.
Right. This is a kid that
Um
just wanted something different than what they were
right.
provided.
And I think more of it stemmed from like they just wanted to like, they were like, bitch, I want these snacks
Yeah.
or whatever.
I
But
want this pizza
it
stick or something.
exactly, you know, it comes out very middle school,
Mhm.
which is just like, oh my god, like you're eating all that.
Yeah.
Why are you eating so much? You
Yeah, what
know,
the
or
fuck,
like you might
bro?
be prettier if you don't eat so much,
Oh
or
my
you
god.
know,
Literally was told that growing
yeah.
up.
And then
Um,
when you have that at home too,
yeah.
that is not helpful because
No.
like kids suck enough, and you know I feel like a lot of people are like, yeah, like kids sucked, but like, yeah, it wasn't that bad. And it's like,
No, dude, when you're bullied, it was bad.
dude, kids are fucking cruel.
They're
They can
mean.
smell anything, you know,
They
and they'll
smell your
use it.
weakness from afar.
Yeah.
Yeah, middle school was actually my first diagnosis.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
That tracks though with gymnastics
Yeah.
so early and everything, and then kind of how that all went.
Yeah. I actually used to watch. Have you ever seen Degrassi?
Oh
Mhm.
my god, I was just sidebar. I was just talking to my manager about Degrassi, and
I
she
love it.
is like, you know, just a little bit older than us.
Mhm.
And she went to school, like she's from Southern California.
Mhm.
And the only things she knew about Degrassi were they used portions of the Degrassi shows for teaching tools in health class,
No way.
which I think was like the best thing
I actually didn't
ever.
know that. That's funny.
I was like, what? That actually makes so much sense because I just like watched Degrassi.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually probably pretty good. They did a pretty good job at like covering things. So sorry about that, but
Yeah.
continue
No,
on Degrassi.
speaking of
Yeah.
covering things, I learned what an eating disorder was because of Degrassi.
Oh my god. On probably same. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, if anybody's watched Degrassi, then Emma, one of the main characters,
Mm.
had an eating disorder. She was bulimic. And I got that diagnosis when I was very young. I went to a doctor, and my mom was like, not shouldn't really understand eating disorders back in the day. When you have bulimia, you don't really lose weight. this is where the competitive thing comes in with eating disorders,
Mm-hmm.
which is really fucking
Oh, it's
crazy.
so gross, and
It's
it's
really
really
bad.
fucked up.
Like, it's really bad. And if we
Mm-hmm.
can be honest right now, we probably fed off of each other in the beginning of our friendship, like,
Oh,
pretty
probably.
bad.
Yeah.
Hence the worms comment.
Mm.
Eey. Neither of us were pushing the other one to eat.
We're so funny.
We never did that shit. Like, you know who
No.
pushed us? Krista.
Krista. It was
That's
like,
it. She's the only one that was like, neither of you have eaten in the last day and a half. Oh, yeah,
right,
let's go make a sandwich, you fucking weird ass bitch.
right.
And I'm like, sandwiches are not my safe food. Like,
She's like, I know, I'm not
do
making you a fucking sandwich.
it.
I'm making Kat a sandwich.
Exactly.
Fucking
She's
ham
like,
and cheese.
these are your dino nuggets. Here you
Right.
go. Exactly. We know. We know what she told me. She has a
Yeah.
list for each of us. So,
I love that so much.
for our safe
She
foods.
will make me ham rolls
Yep. There
if
you
I
go.
need to eat, and like I don't like
'Cause
want to eat,
she's
and
like,
I want a snack.
protein, bitch. Here you go.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
used to come to her house and just make ham rolls and eat them, to the point where her mother would be like, "Is Kat coming over this week? I will get ham."
I need to get ham. That's so funny. What was I saying before? Oh, so
Degrassi, your
right,
diagnosis.
my diagnosis. I was diagnosed with bulimia, and my mom was less educated in eating disorders at the time, and she was like, I don't understand, because she is super, like, she's not losing like a bunch of weight, so I'm
She's not
confused.
skinny.
Exactly. And so, and my doctor, and she said, and I don't know when she's had time to do this. And she's like, well, clearly she's had the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And she has found a way to like keep you out of it. And also, here's some information about bulimia. You don't necessarily lose weight super quickly when you are struggling with this type of eating disorder. And when she said that, my brain said, you failed, you know.
Yup.
And I've talked to people that have had eating disorders in the past, and it's bulimia is the failed eating disorder. It's the failed one, because you weren't strong enough to not eat, and so therefore you had to purge in whatever way you purge,
Right.
you know. um and when I started doing that, it was like, I think I was in 8th grade, and at the time I was going through like a lot of issues with my friends and stuff. And so I think that that had something to do with it, like,
with them picking on you, or just kind of
yeah,
interrelational drama,
like picking
or
on me. I started getting bullied pretty bad when I was in 8th grade. I think that that contributed to it a lot. Once I got that diagnosis, it was more like, okay, well, I need to be stronger then. I need to push harder.
mm-hmm.
And then that's when I graduated from bulimia to anorexia binge purge diet.
Woo.
Yay for me. Super
Yay.
great graduation.
Not yay.
It's not a good
It's not a
graduation.
good thing.
We don't celebrate that graduation.
No, we cope with humor. If
Oh my
it
God.
hasn't become clear
We super do
already,
it. Really
we
bad.
laugh so we don't cry.
Exactly. And if we don't laugh through this, we might cry.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
actually.
I cry a lot, but I am so productive.
Yeah.
It's an art.
Exactly. Exactly.
Where's my Swiffers at?
My Swiffers. That's
My
funny.
Swiffers.
That's funny. What else do we have on our notes here?
I don't know. On our notes.
You're so funny. So anyway, yeah, middle school is when I got my first diagnosis. And that's when
rough.
and at that point, middle school is super rough. At that point, that was when I realized, all right, I have an eating disorder. So now I can just continue to have that. And I don't know, it became my entire personality for like a long time.
Well, and then I also kind of want to dive into, not too deep, or it might get like bad. Things are listening. I don't want my algorithms to change back up, but
yeah, thank you.
I think a lot of it really wasn't helped by we grew up like before social media was really a thing.
Dude,
but then we were still young enough when it really popped off that it was still very influential.
Pro Anna.
Yeah. And
Ooh.
all of those old, Instagram accounts and MySpace and Photo Bucket and all those things where it was just pictures of like really unhealthy people, and
taught you how to alter your photos.
Yeah. And alter yourself, and pictures of people just really destructing their bodies in more ways than one.
Yeah.
But it was so romanticized. And it's so ooky,
Yeah, social media was
Yeah,
it was
really
like huge in
rough.
upbringing and eating disorders. Like I feel like so
Yeah.
many people, more people I know have struggled with disordered eating than not.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that also comes into just capitalism, like in general, and the hustle culture, which is
Mhm.
not new. That's just a new term, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how long has it been like, oh well, daddy worked in the mines for 20 hours a day
Yeah.
or whatever, and like I understand that's not everybody's every story of every generation, but like that's
Right.
that's such an working more is seen as, heroic and like it's such a good quality to have. And it's like, well, I worked 80 hours this week and I only had lunch one of those days and I didn't take any breaks and I only drank a bunch of water and did a bunch of cocaine. Like, what?
Exactly. Because
Like,
why
that's
is
cute?
that like a good thing?
Yeah.
But that's what you see
Hmm.
for sure. So I would say, yeah, middle school was hard. Middle school was just the beginning though, dude. Like it was the beginning of being aware of the fact that I was consciously making decisions that would contribute to my eating disorder.
Yeah.
But I knew it was wrong. I just, for some reason, the addiction part of it
Yeah.
wouldn't
No,
let go.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it totally is. It's very, especially when you do see results.
And people, this is such a huge issue when you are already a bigger girl or person in general, and then you start losing weight, no matter how you're doing it, somebody's going
Mhm.
to tell you you look good.
Exactly. And that just
Hmm.
feeds it. And it's,
Yeah.
yeah. And then it's like it's like the Ozempic right now.
Oh my
And then,
God.
very quickly it's like, oh my God, Ozempic's so bad. And then people are condemning people for it. And granted, condemn Ozempic. But I
Hmm.
think all these people who have been on it need some fucking help. All
Absolutely.
these people need therapy.
Yeah.
I'm in therapy. Everybody needs therapy.
Everybody needs
You
therapy.
know?
You're the healthiest person in the entire world, and you still need
And
therapy.
therapists need therapists. Jesus.
Oh my God. If they
I
don't, that's weird.
if your therapist doesn't have a therapist, get a different therapist. I'm just saying that right now.
PSA.
PSA. I'm not telling you what to
No,
do with your life, but I am giving you advice.
exactly. Uh,
Unwarranted.
you sound like unsolicited.
Unsolicited.
You sound like a therapist right now. I won't tell you what to do with your life, but
But
this
yeah.
is what I think about it. Um, what was it? What were we saying?
Yeah, middle school was rough. Uh without giving like, too many things away.
Hmm.
So I did go to a religious school
Right.
through elementary school. And then I went to public school. And this was all in the middle of the beginning of my parents' divorce,
Right.
which granted was probably like a long time coming. But it was, I think I was in like fourth grade, and it was Merry Christmas, boys, to my brothers.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm divorcing your mom. And then I didn't find out until March.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why?
Because my feelings or whatever. My father was really good at
Oh,
he is a
because you're a
malignant
girl.
narcissist.
Gotcha.
And so he was, and I do know what that means. We're not going to go into definitions or anything, but I do know what that means. I
Hmm.
lived that. Um
Hmm.
and so it was very not great and very, he didn't tell me, so we had to give one of my dogs away
Yeah.
once just because, we didn't have area for her to run like we did, but it wasn't fenced, it wasn't safe for her.
Hmm.
And I wanted to go visit her for like years and years and years because we knew the person we gave her to. It
Yeah.
was not a problem. And then one night I straight just asked him, I was like, did she fucking die? Like, is she
Yeah.
dead? Is that why you're like beating around the bush?
No way.
And he straight pulled over and was like, yeah, she died a couple years ago. Like, she died
Oh my
around the
God.
time that your other dog died, and I wanted to spare your feelings.
Shut the fuck up with
Yeah.
scaring.
Yeah.
Don't do that to
That
people.
was kind of the thing with the divorce, was that it was like to spare my feelings or something. But he had already like moved out of the house, but he was never really home
So what the
anyway
fuck? Yeah.
because he was wholeheartedly a workaholic.
Yeah.
And so if he did come home, it was to tell us how awful we were
Hmm.
and what we were doing wrong. Um and try to like make a nice like fake, you know, picture perfect moment and then just like trash all of it.
Yeah.
As narcissists do.
Disneyland dad plus narcissism.
Yes. Yes, but Disney is mine now. Yeah, and then I ended up living with him in middle school. So in the middle of my 6th grade year, I got taken away from my brothers, my mom, my grandpa, everything, and I was alone with my father.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You were by yourself with him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that was super cool. And, you know, things with him were never great. When he did show up, you know, for like school shopping or something,
Right.
you know, he only wanted to take me clothes shopping so that he could, you know, stack a giant pile, make me go try everything on, walk out in every piece while he poked and prodded and told me what was wrong with it on my body or what was wrong with my body, why it didn't fit,
Oh my
all
god.
these things. And that's, I don't like trying things on. I don't
Because of
like
that.
shopping and trying things on, and that's why.
Yeah. He was very like made you, I feel like, what was I trying to say? What am I trying to say? He made you so much more aware of your body's existence
Yeah.
than you needed to be.
Yeah. And it was, I think it was very much, no, I know it was very much an intentional thing, because something that was consistently told to all of his children was, you know, you need to do better, be better, XYZ, be cleaner, whatever, because you are an impression of me.
Yo, that's fucking, I'm sorry, but I've seen pictures of that man. And truly, you are beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And he is not.
Yeah, we're just the ones that people want to look at more in like the least weird way, because you're weird and awful. No, and like no judgment on anybody's physicality until they are a trash fucking human being.
Exactly.
And then all of the judgment.
Exactly.
And it has nothing to do with size. It's all about inside physicality. Just like you a gross ass human fucking being. Like you're nasty, you're gross. I don't no.
Like, I don't fuck with you.
No, I don't fuck with you. And that's exactly why I don't. You know, there's a lot of reasons, you know. Obviously, it's not like, oh, I don't talk to my dad because he called me fat once. Like that ain't it. You know, this was a whole, you know.
It's like a whole lot of years leading up to that.
I lived with a malignant narcissist for 18 years.
Fuck that shit, bro.
You know, like there's some stories there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some stories, there's some trauma, there's some backed up shit. You're in therapy for a reason.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, I was with him through high school.
And he's over here pointing out things about your body.
Yeah, bro.
Like whenever he gets the chance to do so. So yeah.
Well, and then when he got remarried, his wife was the same way.
Oh no.
So it just doubled down.
Doubled down on the fact that you needed to be perfect.
Yeah.
And what even is that?
Which, like, realistically, here's the thing, and this is not like a narcissistic thing at all. This is not a toot in my own horn. Children are perfect. Yeah. Like, and like nothing's perfect, but like it's much like, you know, animals. Like nothing's more innocent than like an animal or a child. It's like Joe Kenda says. You know, nothing's more innocent than a child, and when a child's murdered, like what the fuck? And it's like when a child is damaged, especially by someone who is supposed to protect and love them and support them through everything, like how fucked up is that?
Like how dare you?
Who the fuck wants to hurt a kid?
Yeah.
You know, I just can't even fathom that.
It's not like you, like as a kid you don't think to yourself, and well, maybe you do. I guess it depends on the conditioning of like your childhood, right? But in the beginning of the abuse, you're not like, let me hide my emotions. So it's like immediately there's a look of pain on your face and betrayal and like, what the hell?
You know, they teach you
to
hide your emotions.
They teach you through their behaviors how to hide your emotions. But before that, they're watching this pain come on your, like, bro, what kind
why
of
are you
fucked up
crying?
human?
Oh, so you see your child is crying, and instead of being like, oh my god, honey, what's wrong? Like, why are you crying? Or like, oh, you just fucking screamed at them. That's why they're crying.
Yeah.
Like trying to comfort them and tell them you're sorry. Like, I need to regulate myself better, you're just going to be like, oh, you're being so fucking sensitive. You're being a little baby. You're going to
Mm-mm.
condemn a human being for having feelings. A
Yeah.
little human being who doesn't know how to regulate feelings.
Exactly. Those are very new.
That's so weird, you
Very
know?
new. And then, yeah, and then to be stuck in that situation for literally your entire childhood up until adulthood is, well. So, yeah, it's understandable that you would have issues with food
Oh,
because it was
yeah.
pointed out to you that you should, basically. It's so
Yeah.
crazy how it's conditioned into you,
And
you know?
oh, very,
Like,
very
it's,
quickly, too.
oh, yeah.
You know, it very quickly turns from, oh, like, are you having a growth spurt? Or like, oh, yeah, kids are growing. They need to eat a lot, to like, oh, you're really going to eat that much?
Yeah, what the fuck? Where's the flip? Because that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, but we listen to our bodies in this bitch.
Right.
Like, we don't, if you're not hungry, you're not hungry. If you're hungry at midnight, you're
Uh-huh.
hungry at midnight, okay?
Exactly. And then the whole the reversal from the same like people who were supposed to be your support system of
Exactly.
when you donate of like you eat like a bird. You don't eat anything. I mean
Okay,
God.
like what is like what do you want from me then?
Literally.
And that comes from family, it
Mhm.
comes from friends, it comes from just people at school, it comes from teachers. It
Oh
comes
yeah.
like all the time with teachers. I used to hide from the cafeteria in teachers' classrooms so I didn't have to eat around people, one.
Mhm.
Two, so I didn't have to eat at all without because then people were going to ask me questions. I
Right.
used to sit in, what was it, the forensics classroom because it was my next class. It was easier to get to.
Right.
That was in high school, but that's
And then it's like,
why.
oh, I'm doing work.
Exactly. And then I had this other friend who was um battling some disordered eating issues, and she would come in. She was one of those very vocal about her
Mhm.
struggles, and she didn't know what I was dealing with because I was not very vocal about
Right.
those things. And she would come in and she would do this whole, "Oh, I just only had 3 carrots today, so
Mhm.
that'll hold me off for the next couple of weeks." And she would say shit like that,
And
and I'm like, there's a part of me that wonders, okay, well, there's a part of me that's like sensitive to the fact that she doesn't have any sort of attention at home,
right.
so she's looking for it. But there's the other part of me that struggles with food and my relationship with it. And to hear somebody say that, I'm like, you're fucking literally gas to fire. Like you're
Oh yeah.
fueling
Like
all of this.
you're
She
starting
doesn't
the
know that,
race.
but like, damn, exactly. Oh, you had 3 carrots today? Guess what? I had 2,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, and that's what it turns into. It's like this weird competitive.
Well, I had a cracker and enough water to make my period last less than a day.
Yeah.
And those are things that like actually happened to us, but that we weren't like we weren't
We weren't
we
vocal
weren't
about
vocal
that.
about those things. That's just us like giving examples, but
Yeah.
things that we literally lived.
Yeah.
Like that's
We
how drastic this shit is for your body.
Well, and the thing is too with all of it is that I think my mom noticed a little bit. Oh, I just bought those pants for you. Why are they so big on you?
Mhm.
Like that was something. Oh, I don't know,
Yeah.
just move on. Like
Yeah.
just change the subject, move on. And this is after diagnosis, after she already knew about it, and so she was obviously like concerned. But
Right.
concerned parent does not equal like action taken,
No.
you
Not
know.
necessarily.
And until that action was taken, things just continued to get like bad. And through high school, it was really bad.
High school was rough.
Like, I had a friend go, my best friend, she went to the counselor and she said, she's going to hate me for this, but I'm worried. And this is what's going on. And this is what I've noticed. And the counselor pulled me in and said, hey, listen, regardless, I'm going to call your mom on Monday. So you can either tell her over the weekend or I can tell her on the phone on Monday. And this is not the first time my mom's gotten a call from a counselor, either
Right.
about self
Right.
harm or eating disorder or whatever it is. So I was like, okay, fine. I guess I will like grow some balls and tell my mom that I'm still sick. Um, and then it was action, but only for a minute at a time.
Yeah.
But I had it in my head that I could convince her
That you were
that
fine.
I was good.
Yeah.
I was fine. I went to therapy one time and it was talked about pretty consistently for like 2 weeks. And then I just like dwindled conversation. This is all on purpose. Like the
Yeah.
manipulative part of an eating
Oh,
disorder is wacko.
it's if anybody else has also watched Skins,
Oh,
Skins UK.
yeah,
Uh, I think that a lot of us that had issues with food really related to Cassie. And I think
absolutely.
that that show, like Degrassi, did a really good job at showing the mental gymnastics that go
Absolutely.
into manipulating the people around you
And yourself.
and yourself. Because there's a point where, like, it's not that people don't care, but then, people check in on you and you tell them you're okay and you
And
show them you're okay.
they have no reason
People
not
don't
to
want to
believe
push
you.
you. People don't want to bother you, especially when we're all angsty teenagers.
Exactly. And even like my mom is a very outspoken person, but if I convince her that I'm fine, then she's not going to ask about it again because why
Yeah,
bring it up? It's a painful thing. Like,
exactly.
why bring it up?
Yeah.
So, needless to say, I'm not blaming her,
No,
for like
no.
dropping it after like a very short amount of time. I made it happen,
Yeah.
and I will take full responsibility for the fact that I continued to make myself sicker. Every single time that she was brought into it, I continued to make myself sick. Um, and yeah, that was my second diagnosis. That's when I was diagnosed with anorexia binge purge type.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. And so, if you were to categorize your disordered eating, where would you place yourself over time? Do you think?
I think it probably, I had I think a lot of kids end up, like eating their feelings. That's
Hmm.
how like a lot of like, quote unquote like fat kids are the fat kids because like
Yeah.
their home lives suck and they eat their feelings.
Okay. So like
Um,
binge eating.
yeah. So then it was a struggle between like the binging and not eating.
Yeah.
The back and forth.
It's that. What is my therapist like related it to? The calm and the rapids of a river,
Right.
and like swinging back and forth
Yes.
between them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a pendulum in a river or
Absolutely.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like I dealt with that for a long time, and I kind of like I'll mentally kind of still deal with that
Mhm.
more so. Um, and in high school, I kind of stopped eating my feelings, and like a lot of high schoolers, I started like smoking cigarettes and things like that.
Same. It was it was heroin
And
chic, dude.
drinking coffee. I think I started drinking coffee in like late middle school.
Me too, and coffee was a
Yeah,
big one.
yeah. So I drank a lot of coffee. And then I was smoking cigarettes at like 14.
Mhm.
And
Same
in
age.
like
Me too.
alleys, like finding butts and smoking them.
Yeah.
Yeah, high school really sucked. I pretty much just like didn't eat ever. um
So you ran into the anorexia side of things
yeah,
a
and
little bit
I
more.
drank a lot more coffee, a lot of energy drinks. I also was in like, and I was not placed in upper level classes.
Mhm.
But I ended up in upper level classes.
Gotcha.
And so it was the kind of like you have 6 hours of homework per class per night. And so I had, like maybe a meal every day and a half, if not like every
Good.
few
You
days
totally had an
running on
excuse to
that.
just be like, I gotta do my homework. Leave me alone
Legit.
for the rest of the
Yeah.
night.
Which was like really great with, like my home life at
Mhm.
certain points, but it was also very not great because I was left to my own devices a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
You ran into that anorexia side. And
Yeah.
that's just kind of like the way that once you hit that restriction point, it's like, um, this sounds really terrible to say this, but when you hit a point in your restriction where the hunger is something you miss,
Yeah.
like
Like
feeling hungry,
feeling hungry is feeling good.
yeah,
Yeah.
feeling empty. And then, what started for me after all of that
Mm.
was the fear of food.
Yeah, food can be scary.
The fear of food, and what it would do to me if I gave in. And I used to go into grocery stores and be like, okay, this is what I'm in here to get. I'm here to find my safe foods. At the time, I don't think I really had any. Maybe hard boiled eggs.
Who love me a good hard boiled egg.
Like, I think maybe that was it. And that was just simply so I didn't pass out because of the protein.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh my God, one
Oh my
time.
god. Sorry, I'm remembering things now.
One
Go
time,
ahead.
you have to tell your story next. one time I was in my bedroom and I was like, okay, I think I should probably lay down to go to sleep now. My body feels kind of weird. I don't feel right. I'm just gonna lay down. Well, then, as I laid down, the dizzy never stopped, and I just was like spinning, 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 like I was fucking drunk as shit, but I was not. And I wouldn't stop spinning even while I was laying down. And I was like, oh my God, like this is not good. Maybe I just need some water. So I got up and I'm like walking from my room to the kitchen. It's just this hallway and it opens up to the living room. And right as it opened up to the living room, I hit the fucking ground.
Shit.
And my sister is sitting there like, are
What
you
the fuck?
okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. Totally lost consciousness for like a hot minute. And I couldn't actually see what was in front of me. But I was like, I'm good. Everything's fine. I just need some water, I think.
Yeah, I'm
Just some,
dehydrated.
that's literally what it was. I'm
Mm.
dehydrated. I just need some water. Emotional support water bottles are a real thing.
Facts.
Fun fact and PSA for anybody who doesn't know, it's actually impossible for you to have a panic attack and sip water at the same time. So if you feel like you're going to panic, you feel like you're going to have a panic attack, then
I feel like I could prove you wrong.
sip on some water. Don't fucking do
kidding.
that.
I'm sorry. I'm the worst.
Damn. Aries.
You see the toxicity?
She's an Aries.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Hello. I'm here.
Hello.
Aren't we in like Gemini moon right now too?
I think we're just in Gemini season.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. No, our moon just switched.
Yeah. I don't know what the moon phase is right now, to be honest with you.
I don't know what day it is, bro. I'm really losing it. But yes, emotional support water bottles are important, and I highly recommend putting pretty stickers. Oh, I was just thinking, it's like definitely not as intense as that. But I was just kind of thinking about, I ended up going to like the Boys and Girls Club for a chunk of my life, and it took me a really long time to talk to anybody. But then once I did end up making some really good friends who, I'm still friends with now.
Yeah.
And that's great. But I can remember, there was a chunk of time where, I was like in the older level. And on Fridays, they would have teen nights. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't sound as like creepy. It does sound creepy. It's not as creepy as it sounds, rather. Because we did have some really cool, like solid, teen staff. They weren't teenagers, but the staff for the teens. And, they would take us for food, and then we would go to like a movie at the little like small like $2 movie theater, or wow, I sound old. Or go to like the taco shop, like build your own taco shop, and then go to like a volunteering thing. We did a lot of volunteering. Yeah. There's like a Keystone group within Boys and Girls Club. It's a leadership group. Okay. And so we did a lot of that stuff too. I was in that. Mm-hmm. Because also, I had so much homework to do, and then I didn't want to be home anyway. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I have friends here, and people seem to think I'm like a, like one of those, moments of like somebody thinks something of me. I had a teen director. I'm liked. Yeah. He told me, Kat, I think this would be really good for you. Like, I really think you're a natural born leader. Mm-hmm. Like, whether you end up leading or not, like, I just, like, you have that. And, like, that kind of kicked that into me. He was really cool. I Google him every now and again. I hope he's okay. He's just kind of disappeared with the wind. That's actually precious. Yeah. A couple, like, I feel like most of those people did. Yeah. One of those dudes was literally a guy who, like, traveled with the circus. Oh my God. Like, he was with, like, the younger kids, so he was so much fun. He would, really like, juggle for them and all kinds of shit, but, like, that was his job. He would go travel with the circus. Oh, that's fucking cool. But I remember a couple of my friends, shout out Raphael, if you're listening. I know you're fucking not. But, but maybe you are. One of my other friends was also dealing with a lot of disordered eating, and so he kind of started keeping his eye on us and would get really upset with us not eating. Okay. And so that was kind of interesting and frustrating, and we were able to like feed off of each other, which was not great. But then there were times where people would say like, no, you really need to eat something or whatever, and so it was like, okay, well, we'll like share something. Okay. So that was nice at least. Yeah, it was much safer. Mm-hmm. But then there were nights where one of us wasn't there. Because like kids have plans, kids have extracurriculars and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh no, like I ate earlier or whatever, and it's like
Yeah.
realistically it's Friday night and I ate lunch on Thursday.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
and I won't eat
Oof.
again until tomorrow night. And that's like really fucked up.
One time I passed out for just a second.
Just a little second.
Just a little
Just a
second
little bit.
when I was driving.
Ooh, that's really scary.
Yeah.
That's the other things that I think don't get talked about enough with
It's so
like
dangerous.
restricting eating and stuff is that like yeah, driving, you know, if you have a job where you're like a forklift operator and you haven't eaten in 12 hours because you're trying to intermittent fast, like that's dumb.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. I support everybody to do things healthily. But don't talk to me about your fasting journey. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a really good segue into this next part of this. I wanted to talk about triggers a little bit. What were things that have triggered you in the past that you can remember, like the oldest triggers that you have? And it doesn't have to be in regards to only eating disorders. It can be in regards to like any sort of self-harm or anything like that too. Emotional outbursts, which happen a lot when you're not eating.
Yeah. Shame.
Oh my
guilt.
gosh.
One of the things I can remember, and this like kind of makes me sad to even think about, just because I love him so much. So, my grandpa was like the best man in the world. However, you know, nobody's perfect.
Right.
And I remember, you know, as a normal kid, you know, not every kid has a sweet tooth, but I was like fairly, you know, I had kind of a sweet tooth. And my grandpa was like, you know, like a sweet little old man. He like made cookies for the grandkids, you know? And I remember at one point, I don't know if I had just like eaten like too many cookies that day or if I had them for too many days in a row or something. But he said something to me about like, if you keep eating all those cookies, you're gonna end up with diabetes. And that like I can still feel how I felt. And I was like a little kid, and I know he didn't mean anything mean by it.
But it hit
You know, he was like in his 80s. You know, he's just like a sweet old man. You know,
he would never do anything to hurt you.
No,
Your grandpa, never.
No. Yeah. No, he was just like the best little man ever. But you know, that's like a definitely like an early thing. I can remember, you know, my mom eating different dinner than we were. Not like different dinner, but she would be only
like
having the salad and protein.
Oh my god.
You know, things like that.
The trigger for it's a competition trigger. I keep bringing that up, but you see that and it's like, I'm only going to do that too.
Yeah. But then I was also kind of raised, not kind of, I was also raised with the like clean your plate.
Oh,
you know.
I'm sorry that happened to you. That's one thing I didn't have to deal with ever.
Oh. I think it's just like looking back, those were things that like made me think about things differently and made me feel different about the food. Yeah, so I guess now that's considered a trigger.
Considered a trigger, yeah.
We didn't grow up when trigger was a term that was used, so like that's also something else.
Now also, everybody walks around triggered,
right? And that's also, you know, another thing was that I was raised in, you know, because my father wasn't home. That was kind of my grandfather's role, and that man was born in 1922.
Oh yeah, so it's like a whole different kind of
he was whole Depression era. He was in World War II. He grew up, you know, like it was just a whole, and my grandma was born in 1919.
Yeah.
So like it was a whole different vibe, like how I was raised. You know, I was kind of raised in a different era, almost. And I think that's where kind of like you have to eat all your food because there's not going to be any waste. And then that has, you know,
influenced how
me now. Yeah, I can't, like, it's really hard for me to get like rid of things and not like use things, and then even if something's bad, I feel bad about throwing it away.
Literally the Taco Bell sauce earlier.
I will use that Taco Bell sauce.
That literally happened today.
Yeah.
I think that nowadays though, my triggers are a little bit up in the air. Now, I went to treatment. Like I went like a full treatment program for.
That was diagnosis 3, correct?
Yeah. Yes. And then at that point I was diagnosed with not only anorexia binge purge type, but also binge eating. And that's where my binge restrict shit really took off, was like right before that happened. But that was also anyway.
Sorry, just remembering things.
This is
This is why we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
Laxatives.
Dude, so bad. Yeah. That's where things okay, so I started with diet pills and
Mm-hmm.
laxatives.
I was getting laxatives from my father.
Yeah, we had them in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh God, that man had a candy cabinet.
Well, and it's because they had tummy issues. Like that's how it was for my family
Right.
anyways.
It's like normal to have like a normal bottle of like Gas X or
Or like
whatever in the fucking
Miralax or something.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Some Metamucil, some Fiber One. Like it's normal to
Something like
have,
that.
you know,
Exactly.
shit, no pun intended, like that in your house. Like that's pretty
That's a
average.
clip that's going on TikTok.
uh but yeah, and then also I was thinking about like that link to um he he would give me like prescription medication.
Oh,
Like, and not like I'm not trying to say like, oh my God, like my father like drugged me up or anything like that. Because like no, that's people's stories out there, and they need to be able to
they need to be
heal
heard
and
and
be heard. But like my father was very open with like his prescriptions,
yeah.
and thankfully like it didn't become more of a problem until later for me,
Mm.
because I very easily could have hurt myself. But like he would give me like Tramdol.
Oh, I used to take that.
Yeah. And so, you know, if I said like, "Oh,
Interesting.
my back hurts" or something, and then that also made me think about, and this made it even easier to like not eat. I got really into caffeine pills too.
Yeah, that was a big thing that I used to want the caffeine pills, but I
Mm-hmm.
took my mom's diet pills. Um, Mind you, she like I said, yo-yo diets and like lots of different fad diets or whatever. So she
So
had a
she's not,
lot of
and she's
different
not keeping
things.
track of how
No,
many
she
pills are in
had
what bottle.
so many different ones in the cupboard in the kitchen, and I would just take them and
And
put
then,
them into sandwich bags, and
mhm,
like I would take them. I didn't read the directions, no idea how many I should take, none of that
yeah,
shit. I just started popping pills like it was nothing.
yeah,
My ED voice told me this is perfect. Keep
this is
doing it.
perfect. Yeah,
She's a bitch
yeah.
for sure.
I can remember the first time because I have had a lot of trouble my whole life, like looking at myself
Hmm.
once I started being insecure.
Hmm.
You know, like if I'm like on acid, it's like, ooh, look at me. But you know, as like an insecure young kid and
Yeah,
teen,
yeah.
I remember, you know, one of the times I was in front of the mirror, like getting ready for a shower,
Hmm.
and I took off my sweater and I could see my ribs, and I was so excited.
Oh yeah.
And that like weird, gross feeling, and that's just like thinking about it now of
Mm.
like, oh, that's like I felt so much prettier.
Do you have triggers now?
Yeah, and I guess I don't really like I should probably like write them down
I
since
don't
I'm in
write them down. I was
therapy.
just thinking about that. Like, I don't think that I've written them down in a long, like,
I don't think I
when
really
I
ever
was in
did.
treatment, I could probably list a good few.
That's fair.
Now things are so different. I've been out of treatment since 2021, I think.
Wow. Yeah, good on you.
Or
Proud of you, Beanie.
2020, was it 2021 or 2022?
Either way, it's still
I
been a
started
while.
yeah, I started treatment in 2020. And it was like a year and a half. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I since being out of treatment, things are a little bit less triggery. I wouldn't say less triggery necessarily, but it's not something that I feel the need to pinpoint anymore.
Would you maybe say that you have the tools now
That's what it is.
to like
Yeah.
handle what's going on in our, because this is something uh my mom always told me, is that when we are in our heads,
Hmm.
we're behind enemy lines.
True.
And if we don't have the tools or the weaponry to get through that trench, you know,
Hmm.
like we can't, you
Oh
know,
God.
so it's really important that we have those resources and tools of what how can we interlock our emotional and our logical brains
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
because feelings are valid, but
I
there is a
just
point where our valid feelings, you know, for me at least, I catastrophize. And I think that's
dude,
where I
so
get
bad.
triggered more often, is that it'll be like, someone looked at me while I was eating, and then it's like literally not a problem.
Yeah.
But then it's like, it like knock, knock,
Gets
knock, and it keeps trying to like,
hello.
you know,
She's trying to get out of the door that you have
exactly.
shut and locked.
And it's like, you're very much still a part of me, and I'm trying to take care of you, but right now you just need to sit in your padded room, babe.
Yeah.
You know?
Please get out of here.
That was something that my therapist helped me realize, which, not everything works for everybody, but the idea of my old self being dead that doesn't work for me.
No, that doesn't work for me
Every
either.
version of myself, every era, if we will, is part of me, and I carry all of them with me. And
it's accepting your shadows. It's shadow work.
yeah,
Is what it
exactly.
is. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree with you for sure. You said something just now that made me think of something that I wrote. Um, the whole enemy lines thing.
Oh, yes.
And I want to find it. There it is.
Oh, look at you go.
I found it. I'm gonna read this, and you can skip past it if you want to. It's a little cringy. It's fine. I wrote this on September 30th of 2020,
Oh,
and
so that was like what, beginning of treatment, right?
no, I started
Right
treatment in December.
before? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
December. Yeah, so it was like a couple months before. Says, what will I let slip past my lips next? Anything, and then what will stay on the latter side of enemy lines? Is this the day that the war starts over, or will we compromise and let the unrest lie? It's literally about purging.
Ooh.
It's literally what that's about.
Also, I think 14-year-old you would be very proud of that.
Of the fact that I
Like
wrote that.
yes,
Yeah,
that's
it's very
one of
metaphorical,
those,
if
and I
you
know
will.
this probably sounds really like shitty and like negaty, but it's not. We know each other. Um, she's very proud of you right now, and she
Yeah,
loves you because not only is that like beautiful and profound and very like helpful,
yeah.
but also that's literally Black Veil Bride's vibe lyric.
Oh
You
my
know what I
god, like
mean?
it should have
Like
been.
exactly. Like it's
Yeah,
not literally a lyric, but it's literally the vibe of one,
but
and I
it's a
love
vibe.
that.
Yeah. So, anyways, that just reminded me of the enemy lines thing, and like being inside your head is enemy lines, and
Oh yeah.
slip past enemy lines. Like
Hmm.
it's like once food entered my mouth, I was in my head. So I just thought that
Exactly.
that was so
Yes.
interesting that your mom would say that, because that's really how I felt. I guess to kind of wrap it up, let's just talk about how we're coping now, and any advice we have for anybody else in the beginning of their struggles, or the middle, or the
Um.
end. I think that we are not licensed professionals, so take anything we say with a grain of salt,
Speak for yourself.
obviously.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, so take everything that we say as like, this worked for us, but who knows if it's going to work for you. I don't know, because we have different things that worked for either of us too, and maybe sometimes don't work.
Well, and we're only so far in our lives. We might
Hmm.
crash and burn.
Like, I'm gonna be super real. I've been on the verge of a relapse for like since the beginning of the year,
It's
and
it's like a rough
it's been
year.
rough. So, struggling with that has been, or like dealing with that and coping with it, and like learning how to move forward from that, has been a really intense journey.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, how are you? How are you staying strong and true to you and to that little girl who didn't know any
um,
better?
honestly,
When you're dealing with these things.
I'm just trying really hard not to let food be scary to me. I have been falling into safe foods a lot, because then I'm still
I was
eating.
gonna say hey, you're still eating.
And that's what matters.
What do we say? A fed baby is a good baby.
Yeah,
Fed is best.
fed is best. Yeah,
And I get that that's like in regards to feeding babies, but like that's
that's
just human life. Fed
human
is
life,
best.
exactly. So yeah, I've been kind of just working through that. I've been trying to be more mindful with the things that are going in my body, so I'm less triggered. Um, which sounds a little bit interesting, but like base.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down
Yeah,
though. Like oh my god, I have to eat and it's so difficult, but what do I like to eat that's also like nourishing and is like safe for me? I've been eating a
exactly.
lot of like salad with chicken recently,
Right. I've noticed that on
Yeah.
Snap.
Yes. We that's another thing. I think if you have a support system, whether it's
Hmm.
family, friends, online friends, literally anybody, if you have Snapchat or any, just send each other what you're eating, you
Yeah,
know?
I think it's important to ask.
Yeah. If that's okay or not, obviously.
Well, that too, but I just mean, I think it's important to like with us, we have an understanding between the two of us that it's okay to ask, and it's okay to show food, and it's okay to do those things.
Yeah. Like
Um
what did you eat today?
Yeah.
But, that's not
Well, and
comfortable
if
for
you're
everyone.
if you're messaging me and you sound triggered, then I'm gonna ask
Right.
because I feel like that's important. And I think that our friendship would not be where it's at today without having gone through um like pulling each other down and then also picking each other up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And I think, we probably like trauma bonded a little bit to an extent
Oh,
as
for
well. Like, kind of,
sure.
and I think that was a big chunk of like any competition or anything, was that it was like, well, we've been together through this, we're in it now,
Yeah, exactly. It was like now we gotta make it to the end. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. Is like there is no end in this. We're
No.
gonna deal with it for the rest of our lives, and that's just something that you just have to accept the fact that an eating disorder or disordered eating, it runs in your brain like an addiction, and sometimes it's harder, and sometimes it's easy, and sometimes you don't think about it at all, and sometimes that's all you
Mm-hmm.
can think about. Um, but for me recently, I've just been trying to be more mindful about what's going in my body, so I know like whole foods and things like that.
Yeah.
Like you were saying with salads, like so I'm not feeling triggered by ingredients.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to make sure. Yeah.
Another, yes, yes, another good thing. So, kudos to whoever I saw this from online.
Oh, okay.
On that note, but I saw something, it was like a nutritionist and talking about how she feeds her kids.
Hmm.
And she was explaining, she's like, just because you add something to a food to make it better to you, that doesn't negate the nutrition that's in that food.
That's in that food.
So, like, she was talking about, how do I get my kids to eat like a good salad? So
Hmm.
she uses like really small chopped salad, and then she mixes in like, meat, cheese, chickpeas, the dressing, all that
Yeah.
stuff, and then they fucking eat it with Juanitas. There's
Oh,
literally nothing wrong with that.
no, that's totally fine. It's
There's
like
so many
turns in.
good things.
That's a good idea. That actually sounds really good.
Right? I love that. And so I started eating chickpeas in my salads, and you know what? It's fucking good. It's just
Yeah,
kind of irritating with a fork.
I'm sure because you can't stab those motherfuckers.
No,
They just roll everywhere.
it's really
It's
irritating.
like peas.
Yeah, I just honestly kind of like bring a spoon just in case. Yeah, so eat good things, support people, and good things literally means what tastes good to you. What
Exactly.
makes your body
Because
feel happy.
that's like something you have to understand is that there are no bad foods. Stop putting labels
Mm-hmm.
on your foods, good or bad. If you stop doing that, if you can condition yourself to stop doing that, you're like one step in the right direction, so
Mm-hmm.
far ahead.
Nobody but you knows what's going on in your body.
Exactly. Don't let
And
other
maybe your
people.
doctor. Like,
Well, that's a big thing too. Don't let other people tell you what's best for you.
yeah.
If you know what's best for you, your mind, your body, your soul, that's all that matters.
But also remember that when you're behind enemy lines, you're not
You don't
thinking about
know,
what's healthy for you. So you need to,
which
when
is
you feel your little health conscience clawing out, reach out
mhm.
to anybody
Yeah.
who, can help you get help, even if it's just you call a friend and they show up at 7 a.m. and make you a cup of coffee and ask you what the fuck's wrong with you. I
Who knows?
remember driving up to a shitty little gas station with Krista to buy energy drinks and donuts at like
Because
6 in the morning during a blizzard.
that's what felt good to you.
Yes.
That's what felt safe in that moment.
And then I promptly
Exactly.
put vodka into my Rockstar
That's
when
probably
we got
not
home.
safe.
Not safe.
Learning moderation is hard, but that's why it's important to have a support system.
Yes.
And if you feel like anything that we've said today is something that you've dealt with or gone through or have been feeling, then I think it's important to reach out for help if you're in the spot to do so, because I know what it's like to be forced into help and have it not work. My eating disorder lasted until 2020 consistently from like the ripe old age of like 4 or 5 years old. That's and it's because I wasn't ready until then.
Right.
So if you're not ready for it, then it's not gonna work for you. Um, just I don't know. I think that doing the research is important and knowing what resources you have out there, and I'll link any resources down below as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Also, educating yourselves on, the importance of food and actual nutrition, as well as,
Hmm.
this is, we're not sponsored by anybody
No.
for sure, but I think Bailey Sarian does a really good job
Hmm.
on dark history
I agree.
of especially like, she did a diet culture one, things like that, beauty standards.
Mhm.
And obviously, there's so much more information that can't be put into a single less than 2 hour video
No, for
or
sure.
podcast, but it really does a good job. And you can kind of deeper dive in from there and really understand that you are not a problem.
Yeah.
You are wonderful, and you need to take up the space that you take up.
Exactly. We need you here. Nurture your body,
Mm-hmm.
love your body, find things, if it's physical activity. You know what helped me with physical activity? Yoga was a huge thing
Ooh, yoga's
because it's
great.
a mindful activity. I think that finding mindful activities is like a very important thing, but also finding things to distract yourself. Like on Degrassi, Emma was knitting.
Ooh, I love that.
And
Yeah,
I used to crochet in middle school
of course
when
you
I was like
did.
trying to get better. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I
love
was
that.
trying to get better, okay, but it just didn't work that time.
You're just a crochet vibe gal,
Yeah,
like
true.
in a sweet way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I used to crochet to kind of get my mind off of things so you can like numb your mind out, but also find ways to be mindful as
Yeah.
well. I think that's very important.
Yeah. It's not so much regret anymore because I've kind of like dealt with that, but there's a lot of regret of, well, I didn't experience XYZ because of my restricting myself or
Yeah,
whatever.
me
You're
too.
with your friends at the carnival or something, and everyone's like eating cotton candy and making a core memory, but like, oh, that's just sugar and that's pointless. So it's not
Mhm.
worth the calories.
It's not worth it, exactly.
Because like one of my best memories was when I did eat with my one of my friends at the fair.
Do you have anything else to add?
Um, I'll probably think of stuff later, but really I just want um I think actually one last thing. I know that it's really hard to think that we're deserving of eating right now when so many children and people in the world are literally being starved to death intentionally.
Mhm.
Um, if we want to help them, we have to be alive and we have to take care of ourselves to take care of other people.
Mhm.
That guilt of like,
Mhm.
why do I get to eat? Why do I
Yeah.
get to go to the store?
Let the guilt like crumble, literally.
Hmm.
Wash your hands of the guilt. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
This is fun.
You'll probably never hear from me again. She'll never let me back.
No, that's not
I'm
even true.
kidding.
I actually have an idea that I should share with you later.
Oh,
Well, thanks for listening, guys. Follow Kat. All of her links will be down below. Love
love
ya.
ya.
Bye.
Bye.